See, I really do like that cyan window back there. I got enough film to do the other two, but I have to cut it down and fix it to size and put it up, but that's on the back burner currently. You know when you have an idea and it just kind of takes over your whole life for several days and what you were hoping to get done doesn't get done because you're working on the idea instead? Well, yeah, I had one of those, so let's just go ahead and dive on in. Okay, pals, so here is a tripod that can have like a boom kind of extension from the tripod. However, this is actually, this is not as tall as this one gets, but this one only gets to be, I think it's like 62 inches tall or something like that. And it's actually not tall enough to have the camera high enough above the table to do my top-down shots like I normally would. And back in the day, I used to have a very low ceiling, and I hung the camera from the ceiling itself above the table to get the top-down shots. Now, there are various tripods and systems you can buy for a top-down camera view on a table. There's things you can clip onto the side and have a GoPro or a smaller camera, or even really robust things you can do for a DSLR like I used to shoot. But of course, they don't have the vibes that we're looking for. So I've decided to custom build a sort of, not like a pot rack for my kitchen, like you would see over an island, but not like that. So there's sort of sewing supply, camera, lighting, sort of surround that will go onto this table. Excuse me, children, can you be good over there? No, they cannot. Look at them. They're doing nonsense. Why do you think the couch has to be covered? It's because of them and their nonsense. Anyhow, I've decided to go ahead and go with spindles to go ahead and try and create this camera rack, basically. So I have 4 of these buddies. So they're just the fancier kind of spindle. These are 41 inches long, I believe, from the local hardware store. And then I have the Craftsman style. These are like the Victorian style. These are the Craftsman style plain wood that matches kind of the ends of these. And these are all primed already, as opposed to getting the wood ones, because I will paint them the same color as the black trim in here, because that will just coordinate. And it's a few dollars cheaper to get the primed than it is to get the plain wood anyhow, and it's less steps for me, because I was hoping to start filming sewing projects, but then I realized that my tripod is not actually going to work. I could actually buy a taller tripod, but it would be a similar price and less cool. So we're going to do this. So I have 4 of these, and I need to kind of create the rest of the trellising to put it all together. I'm kind of making a table without a top. So I'm going to cut 4 of these posts down so that they are 26 inches, and that's how wide my rack is going to be here across the table. And then these, unfortunately, because they're only 40 inches long, I would like the width of the rack to be wider than that, so I have plenty of space to do my pattern drafting and stuff. So I need to cut extra material and then paste it on to the ends of these buddies, which of course I need to cut these off as well, and sort of somehow screw them together and jerry-rig the situation so that I can have longer ones of these. If there was only 1.5 inch pre-primed wood like this at the store that came in longer lengths, but trust me, I walked around and I could not find anything. All right, so I just used the jigsaw to cut those sections that I had just mentioned, and these 10-inch sections I want to add on to the 40s so that I can have a 50-inch section. So I'm going to go ahead and combine these with these metal mending plates that I found. Don't know what these are actually for, but they're about to be for extending these. Again, this is going to be kind of a steampunky looking thing in the end, and it's all going to be painted black, and so I don't think this is going to be that much of a problem to have this looking like this. So I will go ahead and screw these on. I'm sure I'm going to have to use one on either side for each of the posts, and I only got actually 4 of these, which was a mistake. I should have gotten 1 more because I want to have another central rail, but I'll start with 2 and we can work from there. Like so. Again, not perfect. I do actually have some wood filler, so I might be able to make that work a little bit better. I should make sure that these are the exact same length before I put it together as well. But first I'm going to construct the sides, for which I will need this. And I will need the shorter bars that I cut that are 26 inches. And I have to figure out how to drill from the outside into those, I think. All right, I kind of had to wait overnight for a few more bits of supplies, including these lamps to arrive. I, of course, have put some fancy smart bulbs from the local hardware store that I can control via app and change the color and brightness and all that stuff into these little industrial steampunky looking lamps that I'm going to incorporate as part of this project. And oh my God, I'm thrilled. I do still have to construct the whole thing, and I ran into some problems last night, which is why I paused, which is that while I can drill through this wood this way, as you can see, it's a laminated situation. So when I was trying to drill in this direction to pre-drill for my screws, it was a no-go. There I was making basically no progress even with the torque turned up. So this is laminated quite securely, and I can't drill in this direction into the wood, which means that connecting things this way into the end doesn't work. So the original construction idea of how I was going to put this together was kaput. Luckily, I had already introduced this sort of make it work kind of, we're going to call it, you know, in the spirit of a steampunky kind of universe where you're using scraps kind of an idea, using what you got. I've already incorporated these fix-it plates into the design in some ways. And so we're going to put the rest of the darn thing together using fix-it plates. That's right. So I can connect the bits together using these instead. And it will eventually, hopefully once everything is spray painted black, it will look like it was planned all along, and look kind of like campaign furniture or something like that with these industrial plates putting it together. And in some areas I have these, and in some areas I will be using these again to give that sort of look that we're after. You know, I think this will tie in nicely with our industrial vibes that we have with the lamps here. I also have these sort of cornery L brackets as well, so I can just cobble this whole darn thing together. Really, it doesn't have to hold much weight other than the weight of the lamps and the weight of my camera, which the DSLR only weighs so much. I would say the lamps are equal, if not a little bit heavier. So, I mean, structurally, it would have been better if I could screw all the wood together, but we're going to rely on all of our little steel brackets here to hopefully make it so. Also, I have some hooks here because I was thinking I could hang a few things from the rack, including maybe my scissors. So we'll see how that goes as well, just to try and make this both look useful and be useful. So we'll see how it goes. Set these other bits aside for now so that I can put together the other lamp. So here we are in the foyer, aka the staging ground for building stuff, the workshop currently, and of course the cat playpen. So what I have here, 2 spindles on the side, my cut down 26 inch pieces, goodness, in the center, 3 of them. Originally I was going to have these flipped so that the spindly bits were at the top, but I need space for this full bracket up here, so this is going to be how it goes for now. It makes the bottom a little lighter than the top, like the top is a bit heavy compared to the bottom because of the spindly bits, but I might actually end up adding furniture feet onto this afterwards, so that will help even out, I think, a little bit in the end. So we shall see. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to construct this together. Obviously, I'll do one L bracket on this side and then do another on the other side, which uses a lot of brackets, but hopefully will ensure that everything is nice and secure. From my experimentation yesterday, it does seem I need to pre-drill these before I screw anything in so that the wood doesn't split. So I will double check the situation to see if that is still the case, because it would be really annoying to have to pre-drill all this before I do it, but slow and steady wins the rack, something like that. All right, the first side is constructed. I certainly learned a few things along the way, and I did have to pre-drill everything. So it means it takes a little while, but that's all right. Hopefully it will be worth it in the end. It seems quite sturdy. I need to make the other side now because of course I need a left and a right here, and then we can do the cross beams as well. But all of that needs to wait until after lunch. All right, after lunch, I have made the other side. So now I need to go ahead and connect the long bars in between these to create the rack. And we'll see what I can do from there to add in extra bits and stabilize this even further. Here we are. I have put my camera trellis on top of the table. It is quite heavy and unwieldy to be doing this all the time, taking it off and on for when I'm filming top down or when I want to use the cut table for cutting, but oh well. Obviously it's hideous in this white color, but hopefully once everything's painted black, it'll behave a lot better. I do want to put my lamps here and here, but because the lamp base is so large, I'm going to need more to put it to. So I'm going to put another rung underneath this first one. In order to do that, I'm going to need to get more spindles. So I'll need 2 more of those. They're only $5 each, so that's not too big of a deal. And then I'll need some more brackets for putting those on there. Curiously, because I won't have a ton of room. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna get some more brackets. I need 1 more of these as well to do the last center part of this trellis here. I'm going to connect this one together too and use that as well. I'll have to put these babos in their bedroom because I don't let them roam the house when I'm not here because they can get into all kinds of trouble, unsurprisingly. All right, we have our 2 end pieces. This is the end piece I created. This is an end piece I created, and I put the cross beams in that I had to extend. So I have 1, 2, 3 cross beams. I ended up adding a little support down here so I could use another one of these braces, corner pieces here, like so. And again, I had to brace this central pole here. So I have basically a trellis or a table. It kind of looks like a pergola. It's a pergola for the camera. But at this point, I think the next step here, I added this as well. I added a second piece here, not necessarily for stability, just because I needed more space right here for when I'm going to attach the lamps on the inside of this later, which I'm not going to do until after I have painted this, which I think is the next step here, is to go ahead and spray paint all of this black. I was originally going to use the same trim paint as the color inside the room, but then I would have to sand this, and I would rather just use a spray paint that says I can go straight in. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. I take this outside while it's still light outside and give this some black paint. I just wanted to show you the trellis rack camera tripod thing is now black. I painted it outside and I brought it inside. And yes, this is the room of doom. The foyer is just a workroom right now. It's a workroom and a cat playpen. I vacuumed a little, but it's going to need a full situation eventually. But I still have to finish this up tomorrow, and I'm excited to do so. All right, everything is spray painted black. The lamps are on and in. And I have my hooks here that I can hang scissors from if I want to, or anything else, I suppose. But it's time to do some finishing touches on this buddy. So, firstly, I have these furniture feet, which are, I don't know, not for something as ridiculous as this. The only spray paint I have left was matte, so I will have to go over these with some glossier black acrylic here, but just for a base coat, I went with this. I need to attach these to here. Now, unfortunately, drilling into this is pretty much impossible, hence why I constructed this with plates anyhow. So I am just going to have to like glue these and then hope they stay on. We'll have to see how that goes. In the future, maybe I'll find something that can actually drill into this material, but drilling this way, fine. Drilling into it is really proves to be a problem. So for now, I will just try to glue these on with some heavy duty wood glue, which is the same as for these. These are little finials as well that I can go ahead and glue on up here, which of course we're looking more at Zammies than that. Anyway, but I'll glue those on top again. They're gonna need some black glossy to match in better, but these will be fun at the very top of this. All right, while I wait for my little feet to dry on the camera trellis, I'm going to go ahead and make a quick ironing board. I have the leftover piece of the cut table, which on the other side actually has the practice for the frieze that you saw in the first videos about this room. So this is 21 inches wide, I think I went with. 21 or 22, I can't remember. One of those. It started off as 24, but I cut it down just a little bit so that it would be a little less unwieldy. And then this is 4 feet long. So I will go ahead and lay out my fabric here. I'm just using a piece of cotton canvas. It's just a little rough, so I'm gonna put another layer of like cotton broadcloth on the outside of this. But I want to use this as like the base and then use that lighter weight of cotton on top of it so that I can replace the lightweight cotton when need be, when it gets stained or burnt or inevitably gets messed up. And then I will have this slightly more robust canvas fabric underneath that to keep things nice and smooth. And underneath that I will have hopefully 2 layers of this 100% cotton quilting batting. So I'll go ahead and cut these down to size, fit them on top of here, and then I'll show you how I'm going to just upholster this piece of wood, basically. Okay, so I just have this piece of batting folded in half. It's pretty thick all on its own, honestly. Cotton, and it's coming apart very easily because it is just cotton fibers loosely collated into a thing. So if you move it too much, it starts coming apart, so be careful. But I'm just going to lay this on top of the canvas. I'm going to slap the piece of wood on top of this and just upholster the whole thing, stapling the corners first. No, really, I meant the other side of this has the frieze on it. Honestly, this probably should be a little bit wider, but I think it should work fine, so yeah, whatever. I just wanted to use the cotton batting that I already had. Sadly, I had this cotton batting because I was going to make a happy baby present for my friend who had a kid, which was like over 2 years ago, I want to say. And now she's like already going to be having her second baby, and I never made that quilt, which just goes to show how good I am at sewing for other people and how often children re-enter my memory. So I hope that kid's doing fine. I never made them a blanket. I'm a terrible friend. Anyway, let me go ahead and start stapling this. Stapled my corners. I just stapled once through right next to the corner, probably 1.5 inches away in the batting and the fabric, and then just the fabric twice itself. I'm going to go ahead and fold this in and fold it over and staple that into place. And I'll do the other side the same way. Which looks like this. Not very elegant, but it will work. And here's what that looks like. One more side to go. So again, just folding this up, pulling taut, and stapling along the edge. And now the first thing I will iron on said ironing board will actually be the other piece of fabric I'll be using to cover the cover, the more replaceable bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and iron this fabric so it's nice and smooth before I again wrap this buddy up in another layer. All right, so you can see that I've cut the top layer, the cover as it were, larger than the last. And that is so that it will cover up a little bit of the messiness on the back of this. Although I don't really want to put a piece of fabric or felt here because I will like seeing this occasionally. So the back side of this won't be the prettiest thing ever. I mean, I say that, but it will have the stencil preview on here, and I think it's more fun to look at that. And that is that. Again, the back of this is not gorgeous, but it doesn't have to be. It just has to be functional. So I will flip this over and see how it's gonna go. And thus, we have a surface I can iron on that I can move around to either side of the table, the end of the table, away from the table, wherever I want it. I can go ahead and move this ironing board away when I don't need it, which of course, in the process of sewing, I need it the whole time. But when I'm using the cut table for cutting, it doesn't have to be here. And now I'm just waiting for my feet to fully solidify here. I also did have to put a little bit of glue on this join just here to keep the lamp in the correct position for how I have it screwed on there. The other one was fine, but this one was just a little bit off. So I had to like loosen the lamp for the screws to be in the right place. And now I need to glue the lamp into place. Unfortunately, that does take a full 24 hours to set that glue, which I would really love to flip this thing over and try it out on the table, but I don't think I'm technically allowed to now, which I wish I had have thought of beforehand. Okay, pals, we are back in business officially. Here is the camera trellis. Yes, I do still need to put gloss coat on my top finials here. This is what happens when you use two different types of spray paint, but there you go. Here is the camera trellis with its fun steampunk-inspired industrial-ish lights so that I can shoot top down atop the green table of, I don't know, infamy or something. It's undecided. But the whole reason for this is so that I can mount the DSLR above the table here. Of course, also having some lighting in the middle of the room, not a bad plan because before now I had no lighting of any kind in here other than putting my external like ring lights and stuff on in here. And I am able to mount the camera here. I actually just ended up using this very simple little mount clip. I do have a hot shoe or like a quick release on the back of this as well, so I can take the camera down without having to move that clamp, but that clamp can also be moved anywhere along this rail, moved to any of the rails and hooked onto whatever I want. So this should work for shooting top down, of course. And yes, hi. This rail provides a good buffer. I've got my Bluetooth speaker, and these are actually bathroom accessories from the Home Goods that I just thought were Art Nouveau and pretty. And so in this toothbrush holder, I have my markers, and in the other toothbrush holder thingy, I have scissors and all, ruler, anything I might need to reach for. I have my sad tape dispenser. Still need to find a good like black cast iron tape dispenser that fits modern rolls of tape. Most vintage tape dispensers fit vintage sellotape, which is not the same size. So that is a problem I run into when looking for tape dispensers, I know. And then the cords for the lights are just woven around the trellising like you would with your fairy lights outside, and woven down one of the back areas so I can plug that in over there. I'll have to create some sort of plug housing that looks steampunk sometime. That could be a fun project as well. I did just go for a clamp up here. I need to order a couple more of these. These are only $9. That way I can have various spots ready to go here on the trellis for when I'm filming. This is kind of the top down for pattern drafting, but I could have another one over there for when I'm doing ironing. If I wanted to do top down ironing as well, which I've never been able to do before. And here's the light on the other side. Of course, I can set either of these to any color and intensity, which is nice. And I've just realized something about being able to put my sketches up while I'm working, which is that, of course, these L brackets and stuff are magnetic. So this is a really ugly chip clip from my kitchen, but I might need to get some cute clips that are magnetic so I can clip my sketches up to this buddy as well while I'm working, which is super useful again. But in general, this is quite the situation. It is, of course, quite heavy to be able to take up and down off of here for using the cut table in a wider position. But you know what? I think it's worth it to have a really cool tripod, right? And thus, I really mean at this time, the sewing room is actually usable, and I've actually tested using it, so I can say that for real. I have a way to mount the camera above the table, which means we can start pattern drafting and sewing once again. So I'm really crossing my fingers that I'll actually have a sewing project for you next week. Please cross your fingers at home for me as well, because I've had so many weird delays and strange little hiccups in this process of moving in general, that the idea that I might actually just be able to make something is kind of a miracle. Like any parent, I guess I just hope I can get things done during nap time. Thank you as always for watching today, and a special thank you to my patrons who of course make my work and my dreams possible. Are you inspecting the situation? I'm not doing anything fun down here, I'm just talking to camera. There's nothing to mess with other than the shot, you know? I cannot help you. And I really hope I mean it this time when I say I'll be back with more sewing, vintage fashion, costuming, and crafting real soon, so I'll see you then. Bye.